guys, welcome back to my channel. It is day 10 in my 12 days of Christmas, and today I am back to share with you guys the 6 makeup brands I would like to try in the year 2021. I sat down and came up with a list of brands that have had my interest. Some of these are newer or only recently piqued my interest. Some have been on lists before. In fact, I think some were actually on my list last year and I never got around to trying them. A good mix in here. Should be a lot of fun. Of course, I would love your feedback on any of these brands, any individual products or recommendations from them, or things to avoid perhaps. Before we get into it, I want to welcome any new visitors to my channel. Hope that you enjoy this video. If you do, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure that you are subscribed. And with that said, let's get into brand number 1. First brand on my list, and by first on my list, I actually mean this is the brand I am the most interested in, and it is the brand M Cosmetics. I was very close to trying out this brand in 2020. They've been on my radar for a while, and they had an amazing Black Friday sale. You can only spend so much money around Black Friday time, right? Especially when you have kids to buy Christmas presents for. So I held off on this one, and I'm reserving it for this next year, but you better believe I am definitely going to be trying out this brand this year at some point. I don't know exactly when. There are quite a few things that they have that have piqued my interest, and a lot of these have been out for a while. This is not a brand new brand, as I'm sure many of you are aware, but a couple of the things that I am most interested in, first off, are their liquid blushes. These look so adorable. You guys know how much I've been loving liquid and cream blushes this last year, and I just have a feeling that I would fall in love with these blushes. Now, I guess the tricky thing is to pick a shade. There's so many beautiful shades in here. Whenever I'm trying out a blush for the first time, I kind of battle that. Do I try something neutral that I know will go with anything that I know that I'll love, but I also probably know that I have a shade dupe for somewhere within my collection, or do I go with something unique? I'm kind of on the fence. If you guys have shade recommendations, please let me know down below. But these are definitely at the top of my list because I know this is something that I would really like. They are a little bit pricey. They're $25 a piece, which is quite a bit more than my Juicy Pink blushes, but I'm just curious to see how they compare to these. Another thing that I'm very interested in is her eyeshadow palette, especially her Divine Skies eyeshadow palette. Now, when this palette first came out, I want to say this one's been out for like maybe about a year now, and I remember a couple people mentioning this palette and really liking it initially, and kind of as time went on, I noticed more and more people talking about it. And although when I first saw it, I thought it looked a little bit boring, the more I've heard people rave about it, the more it's piqued my interest. I have a feeling I'd really like the color story. I mean, I do love this type of a color story. I mean, I'm thinking of my Blush Crush palette, my Nude Light palette by Huda Beauty. Those are two of my favorite smaller palettes, and they remind me of this similar kind of soft pink or dusty rose, kind of rose gold sort of color story. This one I think is a little bit pricey on its own, but I'm also considering getting it in a set. So they do have a set that includes this palette as well as one of their lip products, their lip cushion tinted lip luminizer, which honestly I'm not super interested in or haven't even heard much about, but it also includes a really beautiful looking blush called their Heaven's Glow Radiant Veil Blush. This set is $75, which is still pretty pricey, so I might wait for a sale. In fact, I think for any of these products, I'll probably keep an eye on their email list. I do get emails from them, and maybe try a handful of things out during their next sale. If there are other things that you guys recommend, I mean, I've heard good things about their lip glosses. Let me know if you have recommendations, especially from this brand, because this is one that I have a really good feeling about. I really think I would like probably a lot of their products. The next brand on my list is the brand Collidos Makeup. I've heard a lot of good things, particularly from you guys, about Collidos eyeshadow palettes. They have these 6-pan eyeshadow palettes. They're called their Futurism eyeshadow palettes, and they look adorable. The packaging of these, and I've seen people talk about and show the packaging in other videos that I've watched. They are so stunning. They remind me of like a spacey or colorful geode. They each have 6 shades in them. They are $24 a piece, so they're not cheap, but they're not super expensive. But I've heard good things about their formulas, and their color stories do look really beautiful. So they do have an option to try out 3 of their palettes for a discounted price. If I was to do that, the 3 that I think I'm the most interested in are the Sci-Fi Green, the Cyber Bronze, the Astro Pink looks really beautiful, and the Sashimi City also looks lovely. Those are kind of my 3 top picks, but again, if you guys have recommendations for color stories or if you've tried several of them, let me know down below, because this is another brand that I really want to try out this year. Also, let me know if you guys have tried out any of their other makeup. They do have other makeup products on their website. I haven't heard much about anything other than their eyeshadow palettes, but again, if you have any input, let me know. The next brand on my list is one that I've overlooked for a while that has kind of piqued my interest more recently, and it's the brand Lunar Beauty. I don't know why I was never really interested in Lunar Beauty. I've known who Manny MUA is for a long time. He's been on YouTube for a long time. He's a very talented makeup artist and creator, and I have heard good things about his palettes, but maybe it's because they're not super accessible, and for a long time I didn't really branch out to like indie brand kind of makeup, which I guess you could kind of say all 3 of these brands are sort of indie brands. My friend Heather always talks about Lunar Beauty eyeshadow palettes, how much she loves them and how much she loves their eyeshadow formula. And anytime someone's raving about an eyeshadow formula, my ears are always peaked. So I've been looking at their eyeshadow palettes recently, and there's two that kind of have my interest. The first one is a little bit older. It's their Greek Goddess palette. This one's a little bit more soft and neutral. I feel like it has really good range though from light to dark. I'm also a little bit interested in their more recent palette, the Eternal Eclipse palette. This one also has pretty good range and a really beautiful color story, but I'd say this one's a little bit deeper. It has a lot more of those like deep, rich kind of tones, which I do love, but I also love to have a lot of variety when it comes to like light shimmers and mid-tone mattes. I can't really decide between these two if I was to try out one. If you guys have an opinion on it, or if there's one of those that you would rather see me try, let me know down below. His palettes are a little bit pricey. I wouldn't call them affordable. They're $48 a piece, but they do include 15 shades. And I've heard their packaging is amazing, and they're not tiny pans. I mean, they're good, moderate-sized pans. They're not like the ColourPop mini pans. So I don't think that's a terrible value. While it's a little bit pricey, it's not out of my budget range. Let me know if you know of Lunar Beauty doing sales. Do they ever do sales? I kind of feel like I might have missed the boat on that with Black Friday having already passed, but we'll see. Maybe I'll put myself on their email list and see if they have a sale, and then maybe I'll take the plunge. The next three brands I have on my list are ones that I'm not quite as interested in. So I'm kind of doing these in order, I would say. And the first of the ones that have a little asterisk by them is Pat McGrath. Now, Pat McGrath is traditionally way outside of my price range. I often get a little bit annoyed at how expensive her eyeshadow palettes are, and I've always thought, how can that possibly be worth $125? But then I have to remind myself that I do own some things from Natasha Denona, and I kind of put her in the same category as Pat McGrath. They're good, I love them, but they are overpriced. I still feel that way about Natasha Denona, despite the fact that I love a lot of her eyeshadow palettes. But here's the reason I'm putting Pat McGrath on my radar. I do not intend to pick up one of her large $125 palettes. That's just too far out of my price range. I think it would kill the frugal side of me. But I am interested to see what happens this year if she comes out with any of her smaller palettes that aren't quite as nicely packaged, like the one that I talked about in my Sephora wishlist video. She did have a palette that was a little bit smaller. I want to say that one was around $68, I think. I didn't end up trying that one out because I just felt like the color story was a little bit too bold for me. And I had also heard that the shimmers in that palette were not the same as the special shimmers in her very expensive palettes, but I would love to see if she happens to do something similar this next year. I'm kind of hoping that she might go the route of just making something that's maybe not quite so luxury to tailor to those who just can't afford or justify spending $125 on an eyeshadow palette. And I feel like that's kind of what Natasha Denona did with her midi palettes. I have no reason to believe that other than the fact that she did come out with that holiday release that was a little bit larger but a little bit more affordable. So if that happens, if it's a color story that I like, or if she does something a little bit smaller, a little bit more affordable, I would be interested to try those out because I do want to know, are Pat McGrath shadows worth it? So many of you guys say that they are, but then a handful of people say that they're not. So I would just like to find out for myself. The next brand on my list is Viseart. Now I believe I put Viseart on my list last year, and for whatever reason, Viseart's one of those brands that they always pique my interest, but I can never quite convince myself to take the plunge. Their smaller eyeshadow palettes are not outrageously expensive. Usually it's more something in the color story that just doesn't quite speak to me. They are a little pricey when you consider the value because they're smaller. The pans in those smaller palettes are pretty small. So there's not really one specific palette from them that I am interested in. It's more just the brand as a whole because they are one of those brands that there are a lot of people out there that swear by their shadows. Like they are the best of the best, but pretty much anytime I mention Viseart, while I'll get a few comments from people like that say, yes, these are totally worth it, the best shadows out there, I also get a lot of comments from people that say, not worth it. I have better shadows from ColourPop. And granted, that could be said for just about anything. I get similar comments about Natasha Denona. I've heard similar things about Pat McGrath. I mean, there's always going to be a difference of opinion when you're talking about, is something worth the price? I just like to try them so I know what their formula is like, and I know if I can recommend them to you guys. The last brand that I would like to try out in 2021 is the brand Rare Beauty by Selena Gomez. I'm kind of surprised that this brand I am including because normally I'm not a big fan of celebrity makeup releases. I feel like that's a little judgmental of me. I don't know why I feel that way. I just feel like there's already so much makeup out there flooding the industry. Do we really need a celebrity releasing something as well? So initially I was not interested at all, but I have heard some good things about some of her products. And as I've been looking at them, reading some reviews, watching some videos, there are a couple things that I might be curious to try. She also has a liquid blush that I am a little bit interested in. It has fantastic reviews on Sephora's website. I'm also somewhat interested in her foundation. She has a souffle matte cream lipstick, like a liquid lipstick that looks really lovely. And she also has this liquid luminizer that looks really pretty and has pretty good reviews. So those are some of the things that I'm interested in. Let me know if you guys have tried anything out from Rare Beauty that impressed you. I'd say at the top of my list is her liquid blush, but if I'm just going to try out one liquid blush, I'm definitely going to try out the M Cosmetics one first. So I'd kind of prioritize that one above the Rare Beauty one. But we'll see what happens this year. Maybe at Sephora's next sale, that might be a brand that makes it into my cart. And that, you guys, is it for the 6 brands I'd like to try in the year 2021. Hope that this was interesting for you guys. Hope that you enjoyed it. I would love to hear your feedback. Any tips you can give me on any of these brands, or if there are brands that I didn't mention that you haven't seen me try that you would like to see me try, I am open to that feedback as well. This is by no means set in stone. Thank you guys so much for stopping by today. There are just 2 more days left in my 12 days of Christmas. 2 more days till Christmas. I cannot believe that. There are some things that I need to get done. Yikes. Hope that you guys are all doing well. One more reminder, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I hope that you'll do that before you leave, and I will see you guys tomorrow in my next video. Bye. Just got done filming this whole video and my mic was not turned on. That's one of the most annoying things ever. When you're watching a show and the audio and the video doesn't quite match up. Does that drive anyone else absolutely batty? Drives me insane.